that, the immediate thing would say, police, handle. But police cannot spread out, and that's why I think there is something called the COPS, community policing. What happened to our LDU, vigilante, those kinds of groups? You need to get back to that level and say, how do we secure that? So there are misses and hits, as you have mentioned it, things we are picking up, but also people need to know that the PDM was 7 pillars. Some people think it's the financial pillar, you get your 100 million or 1 million. And then when you forget the other sets of pillars, then you lose it out. So the design really was to make sure you have all the 11 players on the pitch. And unfortunately, or fortunately for Man U, it looks like they win when they have 10 players on the pitch. So maybe they should be fielding one less. Yeah. So those, I think, for me, are key lessons. We'll be happy to see what messages the president is picking out there, what have been good, what has not been good. Right. Enterprise selection. Pillar 7 really is the public administration, and we all need government. Me and you may not be a PDM beneficiary direct in the sense of the 1 million, but I need that Pillar 7 working for me, the public administration, the regulation, because I may have my cows. If I'm using an acaricide that is adulterated, you lose your cows. You don't get the ticks off. Productivity goes down. If children are not studying, which is Pillar 4, if the health facility is not working, then I have to say the cow to take my child or my relative to a functioning hospital. All those things need to come into play, and I hope the president's messages will be clear once he's back.
Okay. Wow, no doubt about it. And he has also promised, for example, to respond to critics who are questioning those very visits to ordinary Ugandans that are engaged in small-scale farming. If I can quote, he says, "I saw someone in the newspaper asking why I am visiting people with pigs and chicken instead of the well-established. I will respond to them through my social media and remind them that Jesus Christ himself said he came for the poor and not for those that are doing well." Pascal, President Museveni is never short of parables himself, and the juxtaposition of his current endeavors to Jesus Christ's approach in ensuring that he reaches those that he sought to convert is something that is typical of President Museveni. But in light of the successes for the PDM across the country, do you see a perfect report that is rolling out in as far as the program is being implemented across the country?
Thank you very much. I've been following closely what the president has been doing. And like Dr. Fred said, I think PDM was a very good initiative, but the implementation only focused on one pillar. The financial inclusion pillar. And even when you see the president's visits, they are focusing on that pillar.
The one pillar.
The one pillar. They are focusing on the people that have goats, the people rearing chicken, people doing piggery. There is no focus on checking the infrastructure, which is the second pillar.
Yeah.
If someone is rearing goats, how would they transport them from Kavari to the market in Kampala? That is pillar 2, infrastructure. Is not checking pillar 5, community mobilization and mindset change. Because this money is going to people that previously were not in the money economy. They are not business people, but they have been given 1 million to do business. Because the pillar for inclusion, pillar 3 is about doing business. Give you 1 million, invest it, make some money, pay back the 1 million. But if someone has not been doing business before, then they need the pillar 5 on community mindset.
Yeah.
That's what can work for them. The pillar on information. Yesterday I was looking at the OAG report, and it brings out worrying discoveries that we are in the 3rd year of implementing PDM, about 3 trillion invested, but we are still collecting data.
Wow.
Data collection is at 79%.
79%, which ideally would be a significant...
No, that should be actually in the first 2 months.
It should be in the first 2 months.
Of implementation. In the first year, we should have achieved that. But we are in the 3rd year, still invested, we are still collecting data. What Dr. Fred was talking about, the issue of only focusing on one pillar, the way PDM was structured was that the way it was financed. The third pillar of financial inclusion was financed directly by the Ministry of Finance, where they send money to the circles. The remaining 6 pillars were supposed to be financed through the existing institutional framework of government, where MDAs and local governments align their plans and budgets to speak to these pillars of governance and security, information systems, social services, and infrastructure. But what the OAG is telling us, that all these pillars have been ignored. Actually, most of the MDAs and local governments that were audited had not aligned their plans and budgets to these pillars of PDM. So what do we expect? If we are supposed to finance these pillars through these MDAs and local governments aligning their plans and budgets, but now most of them have not aligned, then clearly we are going to only focus on the financial inclusion pillar, and it cannot work in isolation. There are also issues of accountability that have come up. Yesterday I was on social media, and this day social media has interesting things about the president's visit in Shema. In the evening, someone posted a very wrong message saying, complaining to the president that one of the farmers that were visited was actually not a beneficiary of PDM. He's a civil servant who is working for government, and he has been a farmer. So apparently the person was claiming that when President went to Shema, he was shown a farmer who was not a beneficiary of PDM. Yeah. Those are issues of accountability. If it is true that that person had access to money, then this money is for people that were not, the 39%, not in the money economy. If this person is a civil servant, then those are issues of accountability. People that were not supposed to receive the money, receiving the money.
Okay.
And those issues, I think PDM is very good because it has taken money to the grassroots. Previously, the money would be stuck at the center. This one, the Pillar 3, takes money direct to the parish, which is a good thing. But these other challenges that it is facing may now overshadow the benefits that PDM was supposed to bring to the economy and people of Uganda.
Okay. Doctor, in light of those realities, a fundamental policy shift might be required to deal with the challenges that might stall the success of the PDM on the whole, of taking into account all the pillars for which government wants to ensure that there is success. The president himself has suggested that one of the immediate policy shifts would be to double the financial, the package that is given to the parishes from 100 to 200 million Uganda shillings. Is that feasible, and does it provide some reprieve for success?
Yeah, I'm glad you raised that issue, which is critical. And as you said, in light of the realities. Now, sometimes we tell people economics is about realities.
That's right.
Now, if the realities are not good, I can't be an optimist. And most people say, you're just being a pessimist. Now, there are those extremes, pessimism and the optimism. But being a realist is the most important thing.
Important one.
And economics at such a level, which is a micro level of a farmer, really talks about marginal changes. Marginal revenue and marginal cost. If your marginal cost, that extra cost you're incurring to rear that extra pig is not going to give you revenue above that cost, you're making a loss. And that Mr. Museveni has been very keen on that, talking about Echibaro. The calculation, Chura, he has translated in so many languages. You must have that calculation.
Sure.
Now, when you get into those details, you realize what exactly is the problem. Now, when he says increase maybe from 100 to 200 million, this was supposed to be inbuilt into the system, that we don't recover the 100 million we put in the first year. We keep increasing. So after 2 years, it will be 200 million. After 5 years, it will be 500 million. In that same parish, it is revolving.
A revolving fund.
Now, it might not come back. If the first 100 people invested it and their marginal revenue and marginal cost did not work out, they made a loss. Then that means something is leaking from that parish into the outside world. And it could be some of the things my colleague has been raising. The cost of moving items out of that particular parish into the market is so high that the person who drives the fuso is forced to undervalue the price of these farmers, what we call the farm gate. He's paying them solo because he's covering his other costs that are high. And sometimes the people blame the middleman. But the middleman also has his cost, and he's calculating his marginal revenue and his marginal cost. When I bring that truck to you, what has it cost me? If the roads are bad, which is pillar 2. If the other costs are high, he's not a PDM person necessarily, because you think he's not subsistence. But this guy is borrowing from a bank at 30%. He has to recover that cost from this same farmer by underpricing whatever the farmer is selling. So economics looks at all those different connections of things to make a conclusion on which policy shift do I need thereafter. Now, the policy shift you're looking at, even if we were to increase and say, give each sub-parish, whatever parish 200 million, where are you going to mobilize this money from? If you're going to come in the banking sector to borrow from there, you have a problem. Because now you're going to increase the interest rate for the other transporter. You're going to increase the interest rates for the person who provides the inputs. Yesterday I was chatting with a friend, and we've been together in the microfinance sector working on these government programs. And he said there are 2 young people around him who have piglets, but they have no feeds. Now, a pig is not supposed to feed on grass.
No.
If it is to grow big, it needs proteins. And grass is going to give not that much stock of proteins for the pig to grow faster. Now, you want to also say, okay, fine, these guys are bought kids, which are goats and pigs and all sorts of things, chicken, pork, but who is giving them the inputs? If this person is incurring huge costs by way of borrowing from the banking sector, because we as government have raised interest rates there, by way of transporting these things, and then there is no regulation, so everything is adulterated, you have a problem of this person surviving. So we talk about the ecosystem, because what will hit you may not be the rain that is falling on you, because there may not be rain if you stay in Kasese. The water just melts in the mountains. So what may hit you may not be in your local parish, but it is sitting out there. And so the major policy shift is going back to address the macro. How are these interest rates working for those others who are not necessarily direct PDM beneficiaries, but they are so crucial for this individual's success? How is that school being funded? Because all these parents want to take their children to school. Now, if the school is not functioning and they are going to incur bigger cost to go to a private school, then you are cannibalizing the PDM investment from pillar 2, pillar 1 and pillar 3. To feed into pillar 4, which government has not adequately invested into. So we need to be looking at those kinds of things. And if you are to secure this farmer, we are in the Congo. Is it because we would have to be in the Congo, but because ADF was sitting out there, coming to hit us here? We are in Somalia, same story. So we need to map out the PDM and say, okay, the farmer is here sitting in Kanungu, or is sitting in Weyogerere, but where are the challenges and how do we deal with those challenges beyond the farmer, but which are feeding negative effects on the farmer? So that marginal revenue, marginal cost, the revenue must always be higher than the cost.
Okay, we are heading into the top of the hour. We shall go for a break, but when I return, or when we return, I'll be asking Pascal, the emphasis on agricultural development as the critical driver for economic empowerment by the president is something that we cannot downplay. He has focused on the 4-acre model as one that can quickly deliver the dividends for the PDM initiative. Whether it actually can or we must devise another model is something up for discussion. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. You're still with us. The conversation behind the scenes sometimes can get very, very humorous, and yeah, that's the beauty of it. But we are talking parish development model, the hits and the misses, in light of President Museveni's current tour of the country, where he's getting first-hand information and doing a reality check on what is, rather a spot check on what is happening, because the reality check is what happens to him, but the spot check is him trying to understand what is on the ground. The newspapers and other media outlets have exclusively covered some of these tours, where the president is shown sometimes projects that are as big as one animal. It could be a pig, it could be a cow, and the farmer is trying their best to ensure that things get better so they can make a lot more money and be able to return the money, because this is a revolving fund. But we don't have specific reports of anybody that has, well, brought back the money as it was given to them. Maybe the gentlemen with us in the studio have those particular stories and they could share them. Pascal Muhangi is an economist at CS Bank, while Dr. Fred Muhumuza is the seasoned commentator and economist we know. Many thanks for joining us this morning once again. Pascal, when we were going into the break, I talked about agricultural development as one of the issues that have been emphasized by President Museveni. And this, he says, is a critical driver to economic empowerment. And at the center of this is the 4-acre model, one that he is convinced beyond reasonable doubt that if every Ugandan who has land, I don't know whether you specifically have to have 4 acres of land, or that is one model that offers you a blueprint on how you can use even lesser chunks of land. I don't know exactly what it is. Is this exactly 4-acre model, or the model simply shows what you can use for any piece of land that you have?
I think it's 4-acre model, because in production you have to benefit from economies of scale.
That's right.
If the model is saying 4 acre and you're producing at 1 acre, you may make losses. If you're growing bananas on 1 acre, you want to put coffee, then you're going to put 2 trees of coffee.
Only.
The cost of monitoring 2 trees of coffee is going to be so high, the marginal cost.
Yeah.
So you may not make money if it is less than 4 acre. But in the break, someone asked a question that how many Ghanaians have 4 acres of land? And that is a question that me and you cannot answer, but we all know that there are very few, extremely few. I think it is less than 5% of Ugandans that have access to 4 acres of land. But the emphasis on agriculture is very good, because agriculture employs the biggest chunk of Ugandans, about 70%. And if you focused on it and improved it, invested in value addition, agro-industrialization, I think that would be good. But the emphasis is in words, if I may say. The numbers speak a different picture. We have just received the second budget called Sachira. And what is happening is that the allocations for agro-industrialization, where agriculture is, has dropped by close to 1 trillion, but from about 2 trillion to 1.3 trillion in the next financial year. Currently, the approved budget is 2 trillion agro. It was about 1.7, then it was revised to 2 trillion. But in this current budget called Sachira, we are seeing a decline of about 900 billion. So we are saying the emphasis is on agriculture. But now when it comes to financing, we see a shift. Money is being allocated somewhere else. Is that really the emphasis, or it is just in words? Agriculture faces a lot of challenges, and they all stem from the aspect of financing. The issue of extended services, the issue of standards, inputs. Last year I was in Amuru district, we were doing a study, and I talked to a farmer who had lost about 800,000 because they sprayed their crops with fake herbicides and everything dried. They were trying to kill the weeds, but the spray killed everything, the weeds including the crops.
Yeah.
And 800,000 may look small to someone who's in Kampala, but someone who has invested 800,000 in Amuru district in the village,
is waiting for huge returns.
They have.
And that's all they have.
That is all they have. So you have cut off their production because you have not financed UNBS to control the standard of inputs, agro inputs. It is a very, very big challenge, both herbicides and seedlings. People buy fake seeds. The issue of prices, the focus is on agriculture, but agriculture depends on the prices at the farm. In the same study we went to Ruero. Ruero is very good at in producing pineapples. What the farmers told me is that during the peak seasons, a pineapple is as low as 250 shillings.
Those ripe
ripe,
fruits we
very
see
nice pineapple
being held on the roadsides by some of the vendors.
Yes.
250.
At the farm, 250 shillings. What is funny is that in other seasons where there are no pineapples, it goes up to 2,500 shillings. What does that say? We have not invested in value addition. We have not invested in what we talk about as agro-industrialization, because if you have these market fluctuations in price from 2,500 to 250 shillings, then
that's
that
a
means
drastic rise.
when you're producing more, the market is not there because you cannot add value, you cannot process it.
Sure.
If there was a mechanism of processing that pineapple, maybe you could dry it and export it. But those systems are not there. That's why you have price collapses when you have overproduction. And PDM can create that because you can invest in PDM, have a lot of output, but you have not invested in market access. And your own emphasis on agriculture is going to collapse because you have not focused on other supporting infrastructure like roads, like markets. What we talked about, the PDM, and my colleague Dr. Fred hinted about it. When you only invest in PDM and you don't sort out the macro issues, you don't sort out the issues in health, you don't sort out the issues in education. You give this 1 million person to a person, but they have a kid who cannot afford school fees. What will be the first call on that budget? They'll first remove 200,000 and pay school fees. Remove 200,000 and cater for medical expenses. Because you have only invested in PDM, you have not put medicine at the health center.
Another person would completely disagree with that assertion and say, if somebody understands the dynamics at play, that you are investing money in order to make returns at a certain point in time, the discipline to allow that process to happen should be something that we should demand of these individuals that are taking the money. You cannot, for example, say because my child is sick and I was given PDM money, I'm going to hospital. Because the government has not put a health center or the drugs in the health center.
Is it a question of discipline anymore? When you are drowning, discipline disappears out of the game. Because now, do I save the goat by feeding it? Do I save the child by treating it? This is why we said realism and rationality. Any rational human being, you run for life, and not the life of the goat, but the life of the, because that goat is about this child.
It is indeed.
If this child dies anyway, we are going to slaughter the goat on the burial day and eat it. So rationality means.
So the reality is different.
It's very stark.
Exactly.
There. But let me just focus on the 4-acre model there. And if this is anything to go by that I'm reading right here, it's about allocating land to various enterprises such as coffee cultivation, fruit farming, food crops, and dairy farming. This approach, according to the authors of the PDM concept, maximizes land use efficiency while increasing household incomes. The president has also talked about it, but again, he cautions land fragmentation and urges communities to engage in collective farming practices to achieve what Pascal says, economies of scale. Coffee, some food crops here, another thing there, then at the end of the day you're being told, please, land fragmentation, you must be cautious at it. I see a lot of uncoordinated troop movement, and it could even confuse the average farmer. How best can this be rectified at policy level, and maybe the RDCs and other individuals or officials that are supposed to monitor this have a better statement to give to the beneficiaries?
I think it's a question of sharing up these stories. Quite often when a parent passes on, children will be quick to say, let's split the land. And that's wrong.
Very wrong.
That is wrong. You are better off forming, you can have your shares. Let's jointly own the land, produce at scale, and then we share the profits.
The profits, yeah.
And that has been the message Mr. Museveni has been passing on to different people. And I've been in a meeting, I think, in Chakwazi, when he brought a person witnessing this. The man had shifted from Mbarara, where they split up the land. 20 acres, he got his 4. Now 4 acres, you can no longer raise cows, rear cows.
You can't.
So this guy simply sold out his 4 acres, each one I think at a good price of 10 million or something like that, and moved into Chankwanzi and bought bigger land. Now he has told his children, don't ever dare share the land. Keep it intact. Let's look after the 100 or 200 cows. Then the profit that come out of them is what you share. That's the message really that the president has been putting out there. But also we need to know that the 4-acre model, we've learned a lot from the Japanese, but sometimes we throw them away. The Japanese have what they call one village, one product. Because you're looking for scale.
Yeah.
At 4 acres, you're not going to raise the scale that will attract somebody from Masaka, from Kampala, to come to Chanamkaka and buy your produce. The pineapples in Luwero are not all grown on 4 acres or 1 acre. But everybody in Luwero, there are so many people who are growing pineapples. Now they are suffering from the level of big scale, but also they are suffering from where we usually don't see. Economists always say the customer is the king. Serena is here. If guys are not going to turn up to Serena to take tea, eat chicken, so you should be concerned about, are those fellows going to come? Every morning a hawker is on the street.
That is right.
Why are they not where we thought they should be? The market is here. I have to follow the customers. So where is the demand for the pineapples? And then you can easily say, let's set up a factory and process them. The pineapples of a factory are completely different from the pineapples me and you just buy one and eat.
Yeah, sure.
The factory person is looking for juice. Now half of this pineapple is really roughage.
Yeah.
You buy a whole truck of pineapples, you'll get 7 jerrycans. I'm not making money. So if your pineapples on that 4 acre are meant for the factory, please produce them for the factory. And you need to go back to the National Agricultural Research Organization to give you the clones meant for pineapples for the factory. We have cassava that is going into the breweries. But this cassava is not the cassava me and you eat. This is cassava for alcohol. There's cassava for starch. There's cassava. So you begin to say, before I tell even these guys, go and plan your 4 acre like this. Which market am I looking at? So how do I guide them? Now in Uganda, we don't have all that worked out. Mbarara is a very good, Bushenyi is a very good area for bananas. But these bananas are grown by thousands of farmers.
That's right.
But they have followed the Japanese model. 1 village, 1 product. So you get there and this man has cut 3 bunches, another one 7 bunches, another one his bunches will be ready next week. But this truck is able to raise the 400 bunches it needs from possibly 100 farmers and across the villages. So who is looking into this to say, you guys, it is the 4 acre model, but we would advise you all do this in order to be able to reach out to the market we are targeting. And then you provide them with the necessary extension services, because these things are costing us. The other day, a friend of mine lost 15 cows. Each cow was 3 million. Reason, adulterated acaricides. He calls a vet and the vet said, man, we can't even find the right acaricide for this kind of tick. We have to go to Kenya. So where is your 4 acre guy? Can he go to Kenya and bring in acaricides? He will have to sell all his cows. So we need to look at all these dynamics, and that's why we're saying it's marginal revenue, marginal cost. That extra cost, the border would say, where are you going? I'm going to Waisa. I'm going to charge you 7,000. Because the extra fuel for that longer journey, I need a bigger revenue to make a profit. And those guys are rational. You may look at borders, but they are very rational. Very rational. Look at that woman selling chapatis and selling onions and cabbage. They are very rational. She knows how much to stock, where to buy it from, how to move it. That's why you'll find they are on a border moving with their merchandise on top of the sugarcane.
That's right.
I'm trying to cut costs. Because the revenue is that small, I'm not going to pass it on to a customer to say, because it costs me so much to get the sugarcane, so you guys must pay this much. They are not going to be there. During COVID, we saw the chapatis become smaller inside. The guys thought they would increase the price. My students in Makerere could not pay.
I still have reserves of anger for the size of that chapati during COVID.
And now even the thickness. But the guy knows you can only afford 1,000 per chapati. But there are chapatis of 5,000. But not for chikum, my students.
Absolutely not.
So the customer is very rational to those marginal levels. And I think as government is trying to support, before we blame the mindset change, you did not think out. Are you thinking as government? We have the biggest growing loan trends is household loans.
Household loans.
Now you may think people are getting household loans to consume. But actually because they have no collateral. So they take a salary loan to pay fees, a salary loan to feed their poultry, a salary loan, so it will appear as a salary loan. And we're working with the central bank to say, what did this person actually borrow for? Because now we're not even able to track where that credit is going.
Yeah, in fact, that's something even the telcos are getting on board. They ask you the question, why are you taking this money?
Yeah, and MTN, I think, really, when you look at the MTN data, I saw their report the other day, their lending increased from 400 billion to 1.4 trillion. But what is the size of these loans? Between 20,000 and 40,000. Those are really micro loans.
Yes, sure.
They are not even your 1 million that you are giving to a PDM person. But these are the people succeeding because they get it every day, every week, every other year. Now you give somebody a lump sum of 1 million. This guy may lose it. So we need to rethink, again, talking about policy shifts. Maybe when you get 1 million PDM for capital investment, how much do we need to be giving you every month for the working capital? So that you make sense out of this poultry project. Thank you.
Interesting opinion there. Another person would say that would be a spoon feeding and being...
Yeah, what do you do? We are saying the guy is drowning. First get him on the shore, get the water out of his lungs, and he may be in hospital for another 1 week.
Interesting.
Then eventually you flag him off.
You have something to submit on that aspect? Or I should go straight into the next question? And if you are, please, you just add it on. The fact that an ecosystem has to be established for the support to go through, and then the success stories to come through. This brings me to the aspect of how is the PDM rolling out alongside initiatives that were already in place, including a Myoga that was also being conducted. I do not know whether those that are under the Myoga initiative are not supposed to be part of the PDM initiative, and if they find themselves onto that ship, they should be better at managing these funds than those that are simply being initiated into this whole arrangement on account of the PDM. I don't know whether it's working out smoothly.
According to the PDM guidelines, anyone who had benefited from a Myoga is not supposed to benefit from PDM. Because the entire idea was to get this person who was not in the money economy. The person who has already benefited from a Myoga is already part of the money economy. But actually the picture is different. Actually we have people benefiting from a Myoga.
Because if the president visits a farm that has more than 25 animals, it's not something that should be tagged to either pigs, goats, or cows. But if you have 25 animals on that farm and it is being touted as a PDM model, there's a bit of confusion there. I don't think it is...
The 1 million couldn't bring the 25.
It cannot.
It could have put an incremental value. But that is what the PDM guidelines state, that if you have benefited from a Myoga, then you're not supposed to benefit from PDM.
Sure.
But we have seen cases where people have benefited from a Myoga and have also benefited from PDM. I was reading somewhere in the OAG report, and what people are doing, if someone was in sub-county X benefiting from a Myoga, they go now and register in sub-county Y and benefit
PDM.
from PDM.
And all you need is to talk to the LC.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is wrong because it is against the PDM guidelines, but also it is now limiting. The beneficiary should be more. A few people are benefiting from the two government programs.
And it also distorts the reality of the issue.
Yes. That's why you find someone has 25 animals and they are saying they got them from PDM. We all know that 1 million cannot give you 25 animals. So those are some of the realities. There were so many wealth creation programs, youth library program, there are wealth creation programs at ADB, but they are not for the Muntu wa Wansi or the Wananchi. They target people that are already established. There are so many initiatives under Operation Wealth Creation, but they target a different category of people. PDM was for the grassroots people. And that line of thinking was very good, to bring these guys that are not in the money economy into the money economy. They produce, they create market, because as you produce, you're creating market.
Yeah.
As you rear your pigs, you're creating market for the person selling the pig food. As you rear goats, you're creating market for the extension worker. So that was a good thing, but it was not well interlinked. And when it came to its linkage to these other programs, the linkage was not supposed to be cut, but we are seeing issues of accountability where people are getting double benefits, which is good. It speaks to the pillar of information. The information is not integrated because PDM is supposed to be picking information from people that have benefited from a MEGA at a parish level, and then it should be able to sort. But because what I talked about at the start, that data collection is not complete, even in the third year of implementation, that is why you have such challenges. Someone is able to go and register in sub-county X, in the next year they go and register in sub-county Y, and you find they are getting benefits from two government programs instead of now covering a wider coverage, which is really not good.
Interesting there. Doctor, the broader picture for economic transformation. When you look at initiatives like PDM and how they play into that, the fits and starts do affect, at the end of the day, how we end up where we want to end up on account of the greater and the broader economic transformation agenda. The NDP 4 is upon us, and it's well embedded within the budget for the financial year 2025-2026. It also comes at a time when there is a new wave of reality that we are all dealing with. The Trump administration's high-handedness, but one that many Africans are saying it is God-sent because it will allow for us to begin to realign our finances and resources to do the very best. But when you look at the huge specter that is corruption and how these funds have been stolen with gay abandon, it poses another challenge for the rollout of PDM. Where is the money that is going to enhance come from, in light of the realities that we need to again sit back and look at reducing some of these disbursements? How is this likely to be dealt with by the policymakers?
Quite a big mountain to climb, really, when you look at the big picture and the macros, as you have mentioned. As we said earlier, the flood that is going to wash you if you stay in the valley, you need to be looking uphill and the rains and shift early. I like the American, they are very sophisticated individuals, but when cyclones are coming, they say move.
Yeah, move. And they heed.
You know, but it takes you predicting far ahead what is coming. Looking at that signal, looking at that small cloud, people in the Bible say when Noah built the ark, it wasn't raining. And people were laughing at him, but the man had received the message. So what does Trump economics, and not just Trump, but the others mean for us? And it's not just about the money he has cut. It's also about the tariffs he's imposing.
The tariffs he's imposing
on countries where we import from, like China. Because now the cost of doing business in China may go up. So the shirt and the spade you are buying from China, the price will be higher. So we are likely to see global inflation go up because of these disruptions. Some are tariffs, some are literally disruptions. Uganda is still benefiting from coffee prices, and I saw we have peaked more. It used to be people saying frost was in Brazil, but we have also dug through the coffee study we did with the Office of the President. There are no containers to ship the Brazilian coffee from the ports. So the coffee is sitting at the ports, but it can't get out because the container came with Chinese products and is taking out Chinese products back to China. So there's no free container to take the Brazilian coffee out of Brazil. Now, here we still have an advantage. URI was telling me every day they clear about 800 trucks at the border going to Kenya. Now, 800 trucks are coming in full. Only 400 trucks are taking things back. So where is your PDM there? We still have a shortfall, which is not logistical, but is coming from another area. So economy is about signals. If the signal is right, and government policy should be about generating those signals. When we went through structural adjustment program in the 80s and 90s, the tagline was getting prices right. Where do I sell my dollars? In the normal foreign exchange, what is your rate, Mr. Government? The rate was very low. So everybody went into the black market. When government liberalized, the signal came up. Now, I'm already seeing another distortion that I'm trying to understand why. We are saying there are too many dollars. True, the shilling is strong, but then our reserves are going down. So where are the dollars? They don't seem to be in the government system. We can't see them.
Interesting.
But they are somewhere out there. Yeah. So it's about policy signals. And what signal have we given the people who have money? And we need to watch this trend. A lot of Ugandans with money are now investment in government bonds. The banks and the individuals. The best thing you want to buy is a government bond. Now, I would be happy if you are investing in the village because you are the person this PDM farmer is going to leverage. Is the Muhumuza who is going to put a maize mill there to grind the maize, sell it out to the schools, and then you get chachu to go and feed your poultry. That ecosystem you talked about. Yeah. So you want to watch that the signal we are giving, you might be wanting to borrow money genuinely to go and give the subsistence farmer. But you are creating a distortion that people with money are no longer investing in the countryside. They are no longer investing in the real economy, even in the urban areas. They have swamped the money, and the World Bank has given us this standard, net domestic assets, which is a Bank of Uganda report, is increasing. And on the bond side, and that is a wrong signal for this economy.
Okay, interesting. Talking about wrong signals, there are so many signals that are coming through, especially in light of the 2026 general elections. The cartoon that has been chosen today, and I'll just go through it as we close. Mr. Ogon, somebody protect him. Development tours, and there is a cock that is eating away at some of the stuff that has been dropped for it. The whole idea is that the Electoral Commission is warning politicians against conducting early campaign activities ahead of the general election. But the Electoral Commission is okay with development tours. I don't know whether any other opposition politician...
Maybe they need to shift to the early thing.
Interesting. Yeah. But those are all signals ahead of the general election and campaigning process and how it is going to roll out. Whether the PDM as it stands is a campaign tool also remains to be seen. There are those across the country that are seeing it as a source of another stipend by the government, and they look at it as a handout. That will do it for this Kickstarter conversation. Many thanks, Pascal Muhangi, economist at Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, and many thanks to you, Dr. Fred Muhumuza, for always making time to share your thoughts on the economy and everything related with us. Yeah, let's go for a break. When we return, the other segments of Morning at NTV will continue in earnest.